in the first ungraded quiz, I think you were able to realize that pwede pa rin palang gumawa ng FPT dito sa electric force. Because, syempre, electric force is still a force. And like any other force, you can be sure that it still follows the Newton's laws of motion. So we can still create an FPT even for very, very small objects like charges. And they still, again, follow the laws of motion. So, ibig sabihin, pwede kong gamitin yung formula na F equals ma dito. And we will demonstrate that here. Let me go back to this one. So, there are three cases, diba? Levitating a balloon. So, you charge the rod and then pag itinapat mo yon doon sa ilalim, you hold that below a balloon in mid-air. So, you will be able to make the balloon somewhat hover, diba? Or levitate. So again, you can see that isa lang yung charge na pinakita dito sa rod, diba? Para we can assume na it's a point charge. The same with the balloon. They are point charges. So, the electric force ay upwards because repulsive, diba? Siyempre, yung rod, nakakaramdam din siya ng ganong magnitude ng electric force, but downward. Hindi na lang pinakita dito because we're more interested on the balloon. And then, of course, the gravitational force is pulling it downward. In the first case, dito sa letter A, which is greater, the gravitational force, diba? Mas mahaba yung arrow. So, because of that, what's the tendency of the balloon? So, syempre, it will go downwards, diba? The balloon would fall and accelerate downward because the net force will be downwards dahil malaki yung gravitational over the electric force. On the second one, there's a shorter distance between the balloon and the rod. Now, the electric force is greater than the gravitational force. So there's an unbalanced force that will cause an acceleration, which will be upwards. The balloons will move or will hover, will levitate upwards. Paano ang mangyayari kapag hindi mo pinagpantay yung iyong point charges? Diba? Here, the point charge ng balloon and rod ay nakapantay sila, diba? That's why you can see na tuwid na tuwid itong mga vertical forces mo na electric and gravitational. Kapag hindi sila magkapantay, edi magiging angled yung iyong electric force. Diba? I told you to draw a line between the point charges. Draw a line between the point charges. Yun yung magiging direction ng electric force. Most of the time, actually, if you do this home experiment, this is what will happen. Siyempre, the balloon will not behave like it won't move only up and down, diba? So, yeah, it will result to as well a sideways acceleration. Okay, in this problem number 1, after that introduction, let's solve for acceleration. Let's use the F equals ma formula again. So, gulp tube, let's just say rod. A 0.9 gram balloon with a charge of negative. So, negative 75 nanocoulomb. Tapat natin sa ilalim para hindi na tayo complicated. Negative 83 nanocoulomb as well. So, the force should be upwards, diba? Repulsion. And then, don't forget the gravitational force. Take note of this distance. You will use this later on. So we did the first step, draw an FPT. The next one, determine the magnitude of forces. Diba ganun naman? So let's solve for F graph, M times G. Mass is 0.90 gram. Lagyan ko yan ng 3 0 para maging kilogram. Move it 1, 2, and 3. Kasi 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram, right? And then, what's the G? That's 9.8 times 10 to the... No, I'm confusing it with the K. if you input this in a calculator, that's 8.82 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons. Downwards, diba? Vector. We have to specify the direction. Now, how about the F-elect? I have to use the Coulomb's law. K, Q1, Q2, D squared. So, F-elect will be K 9 times 10 to the 9. Okay, didn't make a mistake. Times Q1. O, any naman, maging Q1. Times 10 to the negative 9. That will nanocoulomb. Negative 83 times 10 to the negative 9. O, coulomb na lang doon kasi ginawa mo ng times 10 to the negative 9. Move it 2 decimal places to the left. Para maging meter, don't forget to square. Let me go to my calculator. So 9 exponent 9 times negative 75 times 10 to the negative 9 times negative 83 times 10 to the negative 9 downwards 0.12 square. 3.89 times 10 to the negative 3. Okay. 3.89 times 10 to the negative 3, I should get newtons. What's my net force? My F-elect is upwards, so that's positive. My F-grav is downwards, so that's negative. Okay. So F-elect is, what's my value? 3.89 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons minus 8.82 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons. So if I put that in my calculator, I should get mas malaki yung gravitational force, so it will accelerate downwards. 4.93 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons down. Negative kasi yung makukuha mo dyan. Instead of putting the negative, just say down. Paano mo kunin yung acceleration niya downwards? Diba? F equals ma. The formula mo ay A equals F over m. F net over m. So 4.93 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons divided by, let's put back the negative, the mass 0.0009 kilogram. What will be the answer? 5.5 meter per second squared. Okay. Down, kasi mag-negative yan. Lagay mo na lang down, downward acceleration. Okay. I'll leave you another problem. Take note that hindi mo susundan ora-ora yung solution dun sa kabila. Kasi the question here is how high above the balloon. That means you are solving actually for the distance. Okay? So, yeah, only use that as, don't use that as a pattern, rather. I hope you can answer that. Bye-bye. I see you next week.